Okay, so how can parents bring up mentally healthy children? Uh, there has been, I have heard a few couples say that they're afraid to have children because it just seems like there's a lot of distress. And if you look at the numbers, yes, their mental ailments are on the rise for children. According to a CDC survey from 2009 to 2019. Now, this is a period of 10 years, okay? Now, look at the numbers. It said persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness increased from 26% to 36%. That's a 10% jump over a period of 10 years. That is very large. Seriously considered attempting suicide increased from 13.8% to 18.8%. Another, again, a very large jump. Made a suicide plan from 10.9% to 15.7%. Attempted suicide 6.3% to 8.9%. And remember, these are all over 10 years. It's just a very short period of time that these changes are happening. And were injured in a suicide attempt that had to be treated by a doctor or a nurse increased from 1.9% to 2.5%. That number is atrociously high. So, what can be done? Well, the first thing that you should understand is that humans are born with a body, which includes the brain, designed to be healthy. If you see that there is an illness which is affecting a large number of humans, a large percentage, it must be that there have been changes in the environment. Can also lead to changes in habit, the changes in what they eat, the changes in what they believe, the changes in how they interact with each other, the changes in how much time they spend on electronic media instead of real life interactions. So all these changes, that if there is an increase in ailment, it must be due to these changes in the environment. The environment is a broad term. It's like encompassing all the different things which the person experiences. It's not natural. It's not natural for humans to be unhealthy. Once in a while, you may get some a rare case where there is some congenital defect which leads to some ailment, but normally it is not normal for humans to be not healthy. Now, this again goes back to the part of the longer video, which is the scientific model for human nature, for human behavior, for the brain. And in that, from that, I say that the cause of mental illness is the paucity of love. What is love? Love is the rewards which the brain gives you. It could be in the form of a satisfaction. It can be feel like I've done my duty. It's like I am loved. It can be that I love somebody. It can be some hope for the future. Whatever it is. It is the rewards that the brain gives you. If you're not getting sufficient rewards from the brain, then you're going to have mental illness. If you're getting sufficient rewards from the brain, a portfolio of rewards, a healthy portfolio of rewards, normally a person should not develop mental illness. So the vast majority of humans who receive the amount of love, not much less than what they would receive in the natural portfolio and natural paleo environment, what that is what they were designed for, will not develop mental illness. And I would say not only the amount, but also the amount and complete set of lab should not develop mental illness. So then the question comes that, okay, the environment has changed, so what can we do about this environment? If you're in this environment where you're having this increased mental illness, what can be done about it? Well, the way the brain of a child has been designed by evolution is to prepare it for adulthood. For example, let's say you see lion cubs, and they're so cute. Oh, look at them, they're playing. They're actually, yes, they're playing and they're getting love from that, but they're also preparing to hunt. Right? They're preparing to stalk. They're preparing to wrestle with each other. So you've observed the behavior of the young across species. They are training for adulthood. The things they like doing, the thing which gives them love, is also the things which prepare them for adulthood. Evolution does not waste anything. There is a purpose. So let's, remembering that, let's see what we would like, what kind of environment to give to a child so that they have this set of healthy love. Now, political fights have made parents move away from the natural sources of love. For example, no, boys should not be playing war games, and girls should not be playing with homemaking dolls. So, children have become the subject of political fights of adults, and one should not pressure children to be what they are not. So let them be like whatever interests they have, and remember that their brains are made in a way which is really preparing them, what evolution thought would be preparing them as adults. That's what is giving them the loves. Also, keep vicarious fantasies to a minimum, and this is it's a general observation about all ages. It's not only children but also for adults. So get your children to be active, right? Active participants rather than sitting and watching somebody on the screen. One of the best things I did, it's just wonderful things. I would just want more and more of it, was playing soccer. Not because I was a great player. I'm rather flat-footed. I was a decent goalkeeper. But anyway, so let the boys play soccer. Some things like wrestling, which is essentially simulations of war without actually being violent. You don't want violence, but you want to give them something which the brain said, okay, if you do this, I'm going to give you a reward. Okay, so moving on, a feeling of security is very important for a child. not to feel negative love, which is a negative reward from the brain. So a child should grow up in a loving, secure environment while also feeling pressure to develop a work ethic and be well mannered. Okay, so now we come to a very important topic, and this is how do you make your marriage succeed? Now, the advice I have in this section is based on my understanding of evolution and also my observations of humans. I have this section in this longer video, in the longer video called the scientific model for human nature or the human brain. And in that, I discuss how when we do something which is favorable, the brain gives us positive rewards, which I call love. Now, one of the most prominent sources of love is being in a relationship, and this is something which you know this reward can be like happiness. It can be the as part of the best possible life for you. So it is certainly very important marriage, and when we have made a commitment, we call it a marriage. And this has been a very consistent feature of human history that people marry. Okay. Now, here are the tips. Now, at the beginning of your marriage, focus on deepening your love. Uh, Work on your relationship from the very beginning. Now, marriage is something which is different from just having an affair or a relationship because a marriage involves a commitment. And if it's kind of well understood that people act differently when they have a commitment compared to when they don't. Now, in our culture, the commitment from a marriage has weakened. And so, but we do want that commitment from our partner. And we don't want to be in a situation where that commitment is not made and then we do not get the benefits of marriage. So, even though in the culture the commitment may have weakened, you of course have the liberty of making that commitment, and you and your partner should make that commitment. Essentially, if you think that the marriage is not going to last, you're going to act differently, and then you'll not get the benefits, and therefore you should proceed with the assumption that this will be something which is going to last your entire life. The next thing is that you should think of yourself as a team. So it should not be that, okay, what am I doing? What is my partner doing? Rather, it's what the team is doing, and anything that your partner does is also your credit, and anything that you do is also your partner's credit. And similarly, discredit. So, the husband is also what the wife is, and the wife is also what the husband is. And about like thoughts like, I wish she was like that, or she was like that. And if you and your partner have children, then they should be part of the team. And you can think that this team is for protection of others in the team, and the outside world is sort of like something which can be threatening. So just a bit of, just a little paranoid is not bad. It can promote the feeling of being a team. Now, when you start with your marriage, initially, you can have a thing like, what is it that you're looking for in a marriage? It can be that your partner is attractive, you'll have sex, we can do things together like travel, eat out, etc. You'll give gifts to each other, have a glamorous wedding. Now, these are all fine. You should not really take the financial expenses, be excessive about that. But over time, the essential requirements of a successful marriage are that you feel that you're becoming part of a team and that you have a companion for your entire life. So, this is the greatest resource for a best possible life and other human relationships. Now, you should guard against stress and dissatisfaction from the rest of your life seeping into your relationship. We do live in an age of dissatisfaction. There is, the economy causes us a lot of stress, and we should like not allow the stress which the rest of the world is causing us to affect our relationship, and we should always be attempt to be considerate and loving to our partner. Now, give the greatest importance to whatever your partner desires, and make your try your best to make it happen. If your partner says that this sort of behavior is not something that is desired, you should try to change that behavior. Make your best effort. Your partner is simply the most important person in your life, and don't kind of make this a power struggle when you're saying, okay, I'm giving this much and I'm getting that much in return, and I feel like my partner is wanting things from me to behave a certain way in public or whatever, that is something, trying to control me or whatever. Just try to if as far as possible, try to give your partner what he or she desires. If your partner wants your time, don't think that he or she is needy. Rather, think that there is this person who wants to be with me. Somebody. So, of course, while you give importance to your partner should also be reasonable in their expectations, and you should be reasonable in your expectations. So, some of the important things which partners give to each other are caring, time, companionship, praise, financial support, sex, positive reinforcement, material gifts, etc. Of these, the essential requirements are caring, and you should care for your partner, and you should spend time together, that you should give them your time, and companionship. So, time and companionship. Okay, so these are the things which are the essential parts of successful relationship. Your partner and your family should be the center of your world. Find things to do with your partner, spend less time in social events. Just don't kind of have like meeting a lot of people all the time and just instead focus on the time that you spend together and build something together. And if you have children, then bringing them up well is a shared project, which will also strengthen your bond. Now, this is a general issue which, the next point is a general issue which is now quite important, and that is just minimize secondhand emotions and vicarious living. We have so much vicarious living now. We are always have these fantasies, just we want to escape into fantasies. No, that is not good for a relationship. Uh, don't escape into fantasies. Make your relationship with your partner real, and make that if you make it, you should get a lot of value from that, a lot of love from that. Okay. So you have only a finite amount of attention, interest, caring, and love to give. And the first recipient of these should be a partner. You should not make an emotional investment in people you don't know, which a lot of people do because they spend a lot of time thinking about or reading about or watching what these so-called celebrities do. So that is a waste of your emotions that should really be invested in your partner. So, we human beings have a tendency to think in terms of what is familiar to us. For example, when we think of colonizing space, we think of finding planets which are like Earth. There's a lot of talk about what is the habitable zone and how many planets are there in the habitable zone. So essentially, you're looking for something that is familiar. And what is familiar to us is Earth. And when we think of, okay, maybe we can find another Earth like planet, and so that's where a lot of the excitement or a lot of the research is directed towards. However, if you look at the numbers and if you look at what we know about the laws of physics, and given that I believe in the future humanity will want to increase its numbers because the idea of comprehensive utilitarianism says that it is a good thing if we are able to provide a good life for more future humans. So, given all those facts, what follows is that we are actually, or humanity in the future is actually going to live in space habitations. They are not going to go searching for these, planets in the habitable zone, because if there are such planets, they are probably very small in number. Whereas every solar system has a fantastic amount of mass, which can build a fantastic amount of space habitations in which a fantastic amount of human beings can live. So that is the future. So now I'm going to tell you how Earth fits in that future, and you're going to your first reaction is probably going to be no way. That's not going to happen. That's just like, that's impossible. And I like that reaction. If I was to only tell you things which you already are familiar with, I'd be disappointed. I want that reaction from you. Oh, he made us think something new. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. And just think, okay, now this is a look into the future, like what's going to happen a few million years from now. And have an open mind. Just go back 1,000 years. 1,000 years ago, if somebody you knew told you someday humans will walk on the moon, people would say he's crazy. As technology advances, new things become possible which were not possible in the past. And there is technology and there is knowledge of science. Okay? So the technology is not yet here, but the knowledge of science can point us in a certain direction. And what is that direction? Well, I've already, in a previous video, I've said why we shall not colonize Mars. Rather, we are going to break it up, send it to space, and create space habitations for like more than 20,000 trillion people. The same thing is going to happen with Earth. So what is going to happen? Like, think about you're a couple of million years in the future. Now, this is a glimpse for you about where humanity will be a few million years from now. Okay? And it follows from numbers. So the first number that you have is that Earth's mass is about 6 into 10 to the power 24 kilograms. If I have it right, a trillion is 10 to the power 12. And so 10 to the power 24 is a trillion kilograms. Okay. So that's the first number. The second number is how many space habitations can you build with that amount of mass? And according to the design which I provided in earlier videos, a space habitation for 50,000 humans will require 1.42 into 10 to the power 12 kilograms. Okay, so then the number of space habitations you can build will be about 5.97 into 10 to the power 24 divided by 1.42 into 10 to the power 12. And that should be about 5 into 10 to the power 12, or 4 into 10 to the power 12 space habitations. And each space habitation can provide food, clothing, and shelter, and fun, all kinds of luxury for 50,000 humans. So the amount of humans who can have this food, clothing, shelter, and luxuries, if you take the mass of Earth and you convert it into space habitations, using solar energy, because solar energy is it's an infinite amount of it, is 210,000 trillion humans. So you know where this is going. If you remain on Earth, there is enough for maybe 8 billion people. If you convert Earth into space habitations, there is enough for 210,000 trillion people. Now, if you look at it from from an economics point of view, you can kind of think of it this way. So, according to one estimate, the value of all land in the OECD countries is about $130 trillion. Okay. Now, take that as a lower estimate. So, just say that the value of all land on Earth is $130 trillion. So, we have a population of about 7.9 billion, and that works out to about $16,500 per person. So, on Earth, the average value of land which is owned by people on Earth is about $16,500. So compared to Earth's current population, and if Earth was broken up and instead there were 210,000 trillion people, that would be 26.6 million times more people who could live in those space habitations. Now, assume that the value of land in space will be approximately the same as value of land on Earth. Now, space habitations, the value of land will probably be a bit more because space habitations have some advantages. There are no issues of pollution because the modules which build the space habitations are periodically just disaggregated into their constituents and fabricated again. Okay. So but let's say that the value of land in space is approximately the same as value of land on Earth. So total value of land will be in space. If you broke Earth and made it into space habitations, the value of land in those habitations would be 3.46 billion trillion. Okay? And if you say, okay, you were to take that money and distribute it to the inhabitants of Earth, that would turn out to be $430 billion. So each person on Earth could be given land which would have a value of $430 billion if they agreed to break Earth into parts and send it off to space for the construction of space habitations. So space colonization is going to be by far the greatest project of humanity. It's like we are living in this little speck in the universe, and then humanity is going to colonize space, and it's going to start from this little speck and it'll expand. It'll first expand throughout our solar system. Hundreds of thousands of trillions of humans in the solar system. Next, our galaxy, and finally other galaxies. Okay. So, one thing you have to remember about this whole thing about space colonization is that normally humans conceive of projects which they can complete in their lifetimes. You don't really like people don't start like can't think of any project where any engineering project where they said, okay, this is going to take us 200 years to finish, or this is going to take us thousands of years to finish. Normally, you think that, okay, if I'm going to start a project, I want it done around 30, 40 years. Now, space colonization is not going to happen in 30, 40 years. It's going to take a lot longer. However, what we can do is we can break it up into smaller parts and we can see progress. So let us look at where we are with this space colonization. Now, there are two aspects of space colonization. One is, social psychological, the very desire to colonize space, and that is discussed in the first part of the book. The next is the engineering issues, the science issues, and so here I am talking about the science issues, and I want to talk about in this video, where are we? Are we making progress? And if you look at what has happened, there was like these great advancements about 50, 70 years ago. Gagarin went to space. Armstrong walked on the moon. So there was a lot of stuff which was happening. But since then, not much has really happened. I mean, you kind of look like what have we done? And there's a lot of money being spent. If you look at the budgets of all the space agencies around the world over the last 50 years, it's over $1 trillion. Right? And what have we got in return? Well, there have been some kind of like the space shuttle was quite exciting. And it's almost 50 years since that happened because it was the first reusable spacecraft, right? Then there was an International Space Station, which is also quite exciting because people were just living there. And then we had, the Viking, and from the Mariner, Mangalyaan, Hope, Tianwen, and there are numerous missions to asteroids and dwarf planets. And in the recent times, the one big advancement really has been reusable space rockets. And this is very significant because it's the obvious thing to do. If you really want to really have transport to and from space, then you need something reusable. You don't want to like just use a rocket which is to fire once and it's gone forever, right? And so this has been done by SpaceX, so that's a big advance. But however, if you are talking about how closer are we to the big prize, and the big prize is human space colonization, how close are we to the big prize? I won't say that the last 50 years we've made really much progress. Now, you have to kind of think that human space colonization is the goal. And for this goal, how are we going to, what are the things that we need to do? Things like sending a spacecraft outside the solar system is significant. I mean, the reusable rockets are, that's a real advancement. Even when it comes to colonizing space, that's a real advancement. And however, what we should do is that we need to understand what the goal is and what are the steps which are going to get us there. And the goal is really the construction of space habitations. So what is required for this goal? Well, the first will be technology for acquisition of raw materials in space. We need to develop the science and the equipment for that. Technology for self-replicating manufacturing units in space, because if you want exponential growth, you don't want to like ship everything from Earth. You want to like have the manufacturing units in space which can produce more manufacturing units, which can produce the things that you require. So we need like some sort of self-replication so that you can have exponential growth. So we need to develop the technology for that. And of course, the design of a space habitation, which includes a complete closed ecosystem capable of supporting human life. Also, like, agriculture, food is the issue, how to have food developed for, how to have develop plants which will survive in space and provide us food. So these are the three directions in which our investment in space should be focused. So, as you may have figured out, I have a lot of interest in evolution, and I think it explains much of human affairs and human nature. So here I have this, I came across this in my college friends group. Somebody posted this article about this slug, right, which can regrow its entire body. So after some time, it discards the body and regrows it. Now, as I'm interested in evolution and lifespans, I said, I know why that happens. Well, I wrote to the people who were the authors of that article explaining why this was happening, why this could happen and what does it mean. No, I did not, they did not quite understand what I was, my explanation. But anyway, let's hope you can. So here we go. Let's start with the first observation. We have different organ systems. There's the nervous system, there's the skin, what's the epithelial, there's the muscular system, there's the pulmonary system, the digestive system, there's the immune system, very important immune system, and so on. And generally, when you die, these all these systems die. In fact, if one of these systems dies, you're dead. So an organism dies, if it dies in its entirety, then it inherits a lifespan of the organ system with the shortest lifespan. So if my heart fails, if I have different lifespans for my different organs, but if my heart fails, I'm dead. If my digestive system fails, I'm dead. Now, in my the section of my video where I explain lifespans, I note that we die. Part of the longer video in this, which is like, why do we die? And the answer is we die because our bodies deteriorate with time, and the greater the activity rate, the faster that organ will perish. Now, it's entropy. Disorder keeps increasing. If you have a faster activity rate, there'll be more heat produced, or the body is going to perish sooner. Now, if you have different organ systems, the same consideration applies. That if you have an activity for different organ systems, may not be the same, and therefore the rate at which they deteriorate may also not be the same. Now, generally, like you would think, okay, the skeleton, you see like the different organ systems don't really deteriorate at the same rate. For example, the muscular system starts like experiencing a reduction in performance from 35 onwards. And then, of course, that sort of is synchronized with the way for humans it will be, your muscular system may deteriorate, but you're part of a group. And when you're younger and you're stronger physically, you are in a certain niche in the group. And when you get older, then you're in a different, your role changes. Okay, so not true for all animals. If you look at lions, which also sort of live in small groups, when the older male lion, the strength decreases, then they're driven out by the younger lions, and they very soon they perish. They're not like by themselves. They're older. They can't run as fast. They can't hunt, and it's a pretty like basically they starve to death, or they're attacked by hyenas or something. That's quite sad. Anyway, so what about like the skeletal system? That also doesn't really deteriorate, but later on in life, you get like osteoporosis, or the bones become more fragile. Because also evolution, like when it was building those bones, said, hey, you're not going to kind of really need, I'm not planning for you to live beyond like 110 years or something. I'm going to not give you more calcium. And with time, of course, the calcium goes away and the bones get weaker, and as you get older. So the point being that the different organ systems have different trade-offs, right? Like each organ system would have like the body would be making a certain investment of resources. It would give that organ system a certain activity rate, and that organ system would have a certain lifespan. Now again, to come back to the point I made, if an organism dies in its entirety, that is, it can't replace an organ, then it inherits the lifespan of the organ system with the shortest lifespan. And of course, a longer lifespan has an evolutionary benefit. So when the evolution is doing a trade-off between activity rates for the different organ systems, it tries to find the optimum activity rate for the different organ systems. And if the organism dies in its entirety, then it has to like do that optimization with an additional constraint that the contribution of any organ system is limited not by the lifespan it can actually go on for, but the lifespan of the shortest lifespan of the different organ systems. Once an organ system dies, then the rest of the organ systems will also die. So there is this, in that optimization, there is this constraint that an organism dying in its entirety is an additional constraint to the maximization problem. What if the organism was not constrained to live only as long as the lifespan of the shortest lifespan of the least lived organ system. That is, the organ system did not die in its organism did not die in its entirety, then this constraint is removed. And when you're doing an optimization and you remove a constraint, that enables new solutions. And this would be possible if the organism could continue living after the death of an organ system by regrowing that organ system. So if it is able to regrow, then you no longer have that constraint that the organ system which could be regrown, which could have the shortest lifespan, you would not be limited by that lifespan anymore. So the removal of the binding constraint and the maximization problem leads to new possible solutions for the objective function. So the solution to the maximization problem, for example, would give a higher activity rate, less resources also, and shorter lifespans. If it takes more resources to have given it a longer lifespan, then those resources will not be provided. If the resources are needed for strength of the organ system, then you'd still need those resources. Now, the article to come back to about these slugs, Saccoglosan sea slugs, Elysia marginata and Elysia atroviridis. These slugs can regenerate their main body. Fascinating. These are, I call them two-speed organisms. And my prediction is that the main body is given a higher activity rate than the rest, and the rest is capable of growing the main body. So it's really like a slug with a head and main body, torso, flapping around, moving around, and then the main body dies, and then the hair slowly regrows the main body, and again it kind of goes around. So if this is the explanation of what is happening and why evolution has chosen this kind of mechanism where you have the body, the head regrowing the body, then there would be a prediction which you can test. And the test is that other organisms of, let's say, similar size and similar characteristics that do not regrow their main body will show a lower activity rate for the main body. Test it. I think you'll find that the explanation which I have given for why evolution chose this particular mechanism has this prediction, and you'll find that the prediction is true.